Escape the 9 to 5, my good people, and stop being a wage slave. Wake up. And in today's video, I'm going to do a different style where I'm going to review and react to one of the recent guests on Diary of a CEO of Stephen Bartlett's podcast. And the guy's name is, I'm going to try and pronounce this correctly, Monish Pabri. And I've been asked to do a reaction video to this quite a few times by some of my subscribers as well. And I love what he says. And it's everything that I preach and teach all of you, is that you can escape a job and get out of the 9 to 5 and fire your boss, and you can build a business whilst remaining in your job. So look, without further ado, let's jump straight into this video. I'm going to stop and start where I feel that I can add something and complement what he's saying, and hopefully you take some inspiration away from this video. So without further ado, let's jump into it.
Another mental model. Humans have this perspective that starting a business is risky. In reality, entrepreneurs do not take risk.
Okay, I'm going to pause it there, but I'm not going to be that guy that pauses it every 10, 15 seconds. But this is a really important point, which I must touch on. Too many people who have never started what I call a modern age business online, no overheads, a very lean business model, will tell you that business is risky because in their heads, they believe that starting a business is a limited company. You need contracted employees, a warehouse, an office, vehicles. You need all these overheads. You need printers. You need a bank loan. You can't make money without money. It's really risky. You could go bankrupt and you could default and dissolve the company and owe investors. No. Being in modern age business is not risky, and I'm sure he's going to explain. So let's carry on, but do not listen to people who have never had any experience in starting a modern online business, because the risk is zero.
They do everything in their power to minimize risk. And in many cases, when they embark on a business, the risk approaches zero. What is extremely risky is a 9 to 5 job, because we have one life, right? And it goes away and you may not.
Okay, I want to pause it there. The biggest risk is staying in a job, serving someone else for 45, 46, 47 years, and life does go incredibly quick. I love this podcast. I've watched all of it and I just mirror and second and endorse everything that he says. Again, I use the word wake up. You only have to build a business or a service or some form of a product to replace your income, to resign and then work from home and build systems. Anyway, let's carry on listening.
Not get to do what's in your heart. You may not get your music out, right? And so getting our music out is really important. So this notion, which is drilled into us, that if you're an entrepreneur, you're taking risk, really kind of does a big disservice to most humans. And if humans understood that if I embark on a business, I can do it in a format where the risk is zero or close to zero, and I can clone an existing business, right? Now you've combined two mental models, and we can start adding more to them. But 2 has become 11. 1 plus 1 has already become 11. It's nonlinear. And why am I saying that entrepreneurs do not take risk? So if I take my own case as an example, and I can give you 100 cases like that, but if I take my own case as an example, I was working 9 to 5 at a company, and I had a business idea. My employer expected me to work 40 hours a week, right?
I just want to jump in here. This is a guy as well who was in the 9 to 5 and a very similar path to myself. I worked 40 hours and I know many of you work 40 hours, if not more. But what he touched on earlier is that there are blueprints of business models that already work. So you can copy blueprints, or as he goes on to explain very shortly, you can create your own market, and you can do all of this whilst working a full-time job. And I just want to say at this point, how bad do you want to become free? How bad do you want to build a life by design? Because you don't need all the money in the world to live a life by design. Let's carry on listening.
There's 168 hours in the week. So I felt like there must be at least another 30, 40 hours that I could work on my startup.
Could you show me this in context of
Right.
this?
So if we look at our whole week, for example, these beautifully arranged Legos.
I have to say at this point, this is going to show you how you have no excuses. I've also done videos on the 168 working week. Every single one of you who has ever said you don't have time to build a business, you do. We all have time. It simply comes down to two things: discipline and priorities. Nothing else. You can say that you don't have time to build, again, an online business and mitigate all risk, or you can complain and come up with some excuse to why you cannot escape a system that tells you what to do, controls you, and assigns everything in your life. But check this out. I mean, this literally paints the picture that you have no excuse anymore, especially in the day and age that we live in now.
Take one of these blocks of Lego. So each one of those blocks in there is 2 hours. So 8 hours a day. We are sleeping 8 hours a day, right? And we're doing that 7 days a week, right? So basically, we've got 7 days a week, 8 hours a day. We're sleeping. The blue Legos are showing our 40 hours a week, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. We're working, right? Then we get to other, preparing dinner and showering, shaving, getting ready, whatever else. So that's about 4 hours a day on the weekdays, which is including commute time, and about 8 hours a day on the weekend. Then we get to free time, social media and watching Netflix and hanging out with friends, going for dinner. And we've got quite a bit. We've got about 4 hours a day of doing that, and about 8 hours a day on the weekends. So this.
Now, again, I've done videos on this, on the average doom scroller. 3 hours minimum people spend on their phones. Think about all the hours that you go out having coffees with people. Yeah, okay, they're your friends, but think about the mundane conversations about the news and what they've been up to, and these half an hours and hours that rack up over the week. It could be spent building your new future and designing yours and your family's life. And, as is being explained here, we all have hours in the week that we could extract and use to craft and design the life that we truly want. We don't have to remain a worker. And people will say, well, if everyone's an entrepreneur, because I get this one all the time and it frustrates me. There's always someone who says, well, if everyone was an entrepreneur, who's going to do the work? The truth is, there will be people that will always do the work. I don't create my videos, and my channel isn't for workers. My channel is for people who have that gut feeling that they are destined for more from life, who want to watch their children grow up every day, who want to book a holiday. Anyway, look, I'm going off on one. Let's carry on watching, but you all have time.
This is kind of what a typical week for most people would look like, right? Mm-hmm. Now, when you're starting a business, the important thing is don't shut off the cash flow. Some other yo-yo is paying your rent, and some other yo-yo is paying your groceries. So we don't want to rock the boat. But we're going to make one change to Blue.
Which is the amount of hours I'm working for my 9 to 5.
Now, before I started my startup, I used to get top reviews as an employee. I was very focused on doing a great job for my employer, all in, right? The day I decided I'm going to do my startup, I decided I need to be just above firing level. My performance needs to be just good enough so they don't can me.
I love this because this is what I preach. Do the bare minimum just to tick the requirement box of you fulfilling your job. This is the great thing. People who don't have true purpose in life, the bigger vision of freedom and financial stability, some people become obsessed with their job and they think it's everything. But when you have that light bulb moment, a child, you have something in your life which wakes you up and you're like, I'm going to build my life. I'm going to build my business, my dreams. I'm going to sell the things that I want to. I'm going to create content. I'm going to share my passions and my hobbies. All of a sudden you realize a job is a tool. It is the vehicle that is going to pay your bills whilst you are building your empire. And I get goosebumps thinking about this because I remember the day that I decided I am going to get out of my job. I remember the day like it was yesterday, and that is true perspective, and it's so exciting, and that's what he's explaining here. But you last one in, first one out, you do the bare minimum and they can't fire you.
But nothing beyond that, because I need all my energy to go into my startup. So that's the only tweak I'm making is the blue stays, but we're not doing extra blues like we were doing before, right?
And now, blue, for anybody that can't see, because you're listening on audio, is work.
Exactly. Yeah. Blue is work. Exactly. Now, when we embark on a startup, we should never do a startup to make money. It's the worst reason.
Okay, there's two things before we carry on. Don't go above and beyond. I just want to touch on that. Stop being the yes man or the yes woman. Again, how many videos have I done on this? Stop working hard. It's a lie. Work hard for yourself, yes, but stop working hard for someone else, putting money in someone else's pocket. Come on, don't go above and beyond. Don't go in early. Don't stay late. Do what you need to. Again, this message is not for corporate conforming sheep. It's not. I'm not saying to the person who is obsessed with their company and could never build a business, don't go in early. Do what you want. I don't care. But to the yet to be entrepreneurs and visionaries and innovators and people who want to see their children grow up every single day and experience this world that we live in, this and we are here for a blip, such a short period of time, and it can be gone like that. Do not go above and beyond for an employer, a company that knows you are a number. You are a number, no more, no less. Despite your length of service, despite your promotions, just be very humbled in knowing that's the truth.
The purpose of business is not to make money. The purpose of business is to deliver an incredible product or service to humanity. If you do that, the money is a side effect.
Bingo. I always say this to people. Start something that you are passionate about and solve a problem. You have to be willing to start. And this is why it's so key that you build a business whilst in a job so that you're not driven by money. People who quit a job and then have no money need to pay their bills. So they are driven to the shiny penny syndrome in thinking the thing, or they've seen a marketing advert, or they choose a product or a service that they don't love, but they think it will make them quick cash. You have to build something that you love and that you're passionate about Monday to Monday. And that, as a rule of thumb, I always say, build the thing that even if you weren't getting paid for 5 years, you would still do it anyway. I've been on YouTube for 5 years and I was prepared to do this for 5, 10, 15 years without ever getting paid. It's taken me 5 years to now make this a sustainable cash flowing channel. TikTok, I did over 900 posts before I started to generate the cash. Building my businesses has taken me years. I did it all without ever expecting the money because I remained in a job. And that's what he's saying here. You have to have cash flow, which is why you have to put so much time and energy outside of work into building your first startup.
It'll happen. We don't need to focus on it. So what we are looking for is, do we have a product or a service that we are thinking about that we could bring into this world that is going to improve the world in some way?
How do I know if it's a good idea?
Whatever idea you have come up with is not going to work. Okay? Because you...
Okay, I just want to jump in here. You have to serve people. You have to add so much value to the market. Whatever it is that you want to do, you want to create memberships, sell a product, create a tech startup, an application, do a SaaS business, whatever it is, you have to add so much value into a market that is needed that you work on what I call a 90-10 ratio. You give away 90%, you just help people, but the 10%, that's where the money flows. And that's what he was explaining there. You have to be prepared to do the upfront work of filling everyone else's bucket before you ever want your bucket filled up, which is why having a job on the side keeps you afloat to build it until you become successful. But now they're talking about, obviously, how do you know if it's a good idea, which I'll add my 2 pence worth in a sec.
You came up with it in an ivory tower between your ears, okay? And that's not really a great place to find great ideas. What's going to happen is we're going to be doing what I call rapid prototyping, which is we take this idea and show humans what it is. And when you show it to humans, you will get feedback.
Okay, there we go. That's all I'm going to show of that clip. Of course, you can watch the full clip, the full podcast on Stephen Bartlett's channel. But what he's saying there is you build something once you have feedback. So for example, I built my educational side of my business when I created a certain video on TikTok, which blew up. It did 19.2 million views. It got reshared around the world, ended up doing over 300 million views collectively on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, other TikToks. It did over 300 million views. And the one thing that came in, the feedback that came in from that particular video, which was a pain point for a lot of people, is how do I escape my job? That's how I feel. How do I escape my job? So I had all of this data, all of this feedback come in about, Aaron, I need to know, how did you escape your job? Because I want to do the same. And then you build the business part of it. I then collected data by offering a free guide. I offered a free guide in exchange for names, emails, phone numbers. How old are you? Where are you from? What's your salary? What is your biggest problem right now that you need solving? And I was getting hundreds of these guides filled out every single day, to the point where I had so much information from my viewers, aka potential future customers, that I had to create the best product, the best program on how to escape the 9 to 5. And if you don't already know, I have one of the best escape your 9 to 5 called the Breakout Program, which I'm so proud of. I can't tell you how many people I have got out of the 9 to 5 now, directly and indirectly. And that was built, that particular educational business was built off the back of the demand. Raising all the money that I've done over God knows how many years, nearly a decade now, was built from the demand of knowing so many investors that wanted to place their money into excellent products. Again, it's finding that feedback, it's getting that feedback. You don't build a business by sitting there thinking, well, I think it's a good idea. I'll give you an example. Myself and my business partner, Ben, who's a good friend of mine, we are building a tech software company, which I can't say too much about now, in the logistics and distribution space. And it's classed as a 3-tier tech software, like API integration, concept, app, end user. There's loads to it. I'm going to be announcing this in the coming months. And it solves problems for the retailer, manufacturer, for the carrier, the actual distributor and third party. And then it also solves so many problems for the end user / the customer. It's a 3-tier, and I founded this software and this concept and this application. There's many layers and levels to this. Just summarizing it, I came up with this because I used to work in that industry and I saw the problem that was never being solved. So I created a concept based on seeing the problem that was never solved. So it wasn't an idea that I just thought was good. I had feedback. I had so much inside data that I knew I had to build something. And then obviously it's the raising the investment, putting it into an incubator. Anyway, I'm going off on one there, but you always build a business off the back of the demand. But in order to get demand, you have to put out so much into the social market. You have to get that feedback and collect the data. And you do all of this while working a job. I've got full course tutorials, which Mac, if we can just pop up my part 1 tutorial here, quit your job and build an online business. Part 2, which is what business models will replace your income. These two, I dive deep into how you actually navigate and transition and how you build your first online business and your branding and your marketing and how to do it and make sales. And like, these two tutorials are totally for free. And then you can go and watch all my other videos. It is totally possible to escape your job. I mean, it's ludicrous to think that you can't. We have so much at our fingertips. Like, we are blessed. We have everything. I mean, you can get ChatGPT to literally create your own business plan down to fine detail, and you just follow it. The hardest part for most people is becoming the person, the discipline, the sacrifices, the consistency, the resilience, the ability to cut off negative people, the ability to rebound and jump back on the horse, the ability to accept rejection, the ability to apply delayed gratification, to control your money, to control your mindset, to rewire, to self-educate, to never give up, to go through the entrepreneurial selection phase and deal with the highs, the lows, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and to also keep going and keep digging towards that well, or where all that water is, where you can start pumping it up. There's like a meme I'm thinking about, where two people are pumping away and one's got a shortfall of water and the other one's so close to a stream. You have to keep going. And that's something for me personally, I've just never given up. I've never given up on YouTube. I've never given up on business. I've never given up on any of my social platforms. I've never given up on trying to create products, writing my books, creating my time management planners, creating my memberships, my events company, the clothing company, the print on demand. There's loads of different streams now, and they were all really tough to begin with, and it requires you to put in the work, but it's possible. And school teaches you none of this. The other thing I would say just finally as we wrap up you never have it all figured out. I don't have it all figured out now, but you start and you learn and you ask for help and you ask for advice and you get around winners. You cut off dead weight and you apply self-mastery in the 9 to 5. You don't tell co-workers you're building a business, and you stop being loyal to someone else, aka an employer. Be loyal to yourself. Be selfish, because you don't know what tomorrow brings. Don't miss out on the opportunity to spend more time with your family. That's my views. I think if you've watched me before, you know firmly where I stand. Anyway, if you did enjoy this video, I quite liked it doing this. I'll probably do some more reviews like this, actually. I've been asked to do this a few times, so I thoroughly enjoyed it. I hope you did too. If you did, let me know in the comments, what was your biggest takeaway? Again, I reply to all of you. It's taken me a while to get through the comments, I've got to be honest with you. They're non-stop. I'm very blessed. Thank you so much. But it's taken me a while. I'm a few days behind, but I will always get back to every single comment, believe it or not, as crazy as it sounds. And we're nearly at 50 subs as of recording this video on Tuesday evening, which I believe was 16th, 17th of September. Anyway, until the next video, I'll see you all soon. Have a blessed evening, afternoon, morning, wherever you are. And yeah, like and subscribe if you want to. See you soon.